Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. And in this conversation, I would like to talk with you about Kundalini and high or low blood pressure, high or low heart rate. Often within the Kundalini experience, a person's biorhythms will be drastically altered. If you have had a normal blood pressure over the years, these days they keep changing what normal is, but we'll go ahead with what their changes are. Today, a normal acceptable blood pressure is 110/70. Okay, it used to be 120/80, which in my opinion is still a normal blood pressure. But with Kundalini, that can be drastically raised. 150/100 or 190 or whatever it is. I mean, it's really, really drastically changed. And I've worked in the medical field for a little while, and I've taken literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of blood pressure readings off of people. But there was this one guy I took a blood pressure reading from. And he had an amazingly high blood pressure. It was off the charts, literally. And I said, "Sir, if you do you mind if I excuse me?" I said, "Sir, do you mind if I ask you what you do for a living?" He says, "Oh, I work in this office building over here." And I said, "Do you do any kind of sport or any other kind of physical activity?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I've climbed every mountain peak in the world." He said, "I've climbed Kilimanjaro, I've climbed Mount Everest, I've climbed Mount Hamilton, Mount Shasta, all of these different really high mountains he has climbed." And he had this amazingly high blood pressure, and he wasn't hurt by it. He was actually living a very fulfilled life because of it. And so this kind of disqualifies some of the assumptions of the medical community in their bell curve of what is appropriate blood pressure and what isn't appropriate blood pressure. Not everybody's the same, and they try to make everybody the same. So if they like the blood pressure 110/70, well, then they're going to give you medication to try to get your blood pressure 110/70. For everyone. It's one size fits all. Okay? The Kundalini doesn't work that way. The Kundalini will drastically lower your blood pressure and you won't feel any different. Or it will raise your blood pressure and you won't feel any different. Raising the blood pressure is part of the strengthening of the physical system, the circulatory system, that is given by the Kundalini in order to support the amount of energetics that are sweeping through the system. So, in order to, let me back up a little bit. What I'm being shown right now is I'm being shown the picture of a vascular wall, or the wall of an artery, or a vessel. And what is being said is that even blood vessels and arteries have muscles within them. They have the ability to constrict or to become very, very relaxed. And that ability is given through a muscle response. And as the Kundalini comes through the circulatory system, those muscles are constricted or expanded beyond their normal range, which has a direct effect upon the blood pressure. And this goes for the heart, this goes for the veins, this goes for the arteries, this goes for the entire circulatory system, all the way down to the capillaries. Those really, really, really fine veins that you have in the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes, and branching throughout the body. All of these features have muscular response. And that muscular response is controlled by the Kundalini. So she has authority. Sacred Feminine, Sacred Mother has authority over your body to constrict it or to manipulate or lower it in any way that she feels is fit for your system at this time. And it will not typically adhere to American Medical Association standards of standard operating procedures or standard operational bell curves of what is appropriate and what isn't for a human being. And so you'll go to the doctor and you're just like, yeah, it's just my general checkup, and they'll do a blood pressure reading on you, and they'll be, oh my God, this is like hypertension. Or, oh my God, it's hypotension, And you'll be thinking, and they'll be going, oh my God, we need to give you a 24-hour urine test. Yes. We have to get you on medication immediately. Yes. Or you will possibly die from an aneurysm. Chrism. And because I'm not an MD, I'm going to refrain from giving medical advice here. I can just tell you that for myself, I've never taken medication for anything like that. And maybe I'll die of an aneurysm tomorrow. Fine. If that's the end of the line there for me, then that's the Kundalini story of my life. Okay? Kundalini has authority over these areas of your life, over these areas of the physical expression of your life. And this goes to how you feel, how the muscles in your body are manipulated one way or the other, or in between. She gets to make these choices about you, and I always surrender to those choices she makes. I mean, sometimes it's really hard to surrender to those areas, especially when it excites a level of fear of life or death. The MDs will make you fear for your life because they want to control your biochemistry, because they know what's right, because they've gone to a medical school that doesn't recognize Kundalini, but still they know what's right for everybody in their mind. And so this is something that you're going to have to really take a look at for yourself. I can't sit here and say, just because I don't take any medication to lower blood pressure, that means that you don't. No, I mean, you have to make your own choice on this. I choose to trust the Kundalini in all aspects of it. And it's not always easy. Especially, as I mentioned before, when you're dealing with a potential life or death scenario. So it will be normal for a higher blood pressure or an extremely lower blood pressure reading to happen within the Kundalini. Make your choices as you will. But it is normal for Kundalini people to have these types of occurrences, including heart rate. Your heart rate may, for no reason whatsoever, you could even be meditating, really relaxed, and all of a sudden your heart rate goes extremely fast to the point where it's tachycardic, which is a really, really fast heart rate. And you'll just, oh my gosh, I have to go to the ER. So you run off to the ER in your car, maybe. Maybe you're not running. And they get there, and you get there, and they take your pulse, and it's just like, well, no, Mr. Chrism, no, your pulse is just fine. Maybe you're having an anxiety attack. And they may give you some pills to ease your fears, sugar pills or whatever. Something. Oh, better living through chemistry, right? Let's take that pill. Um, or they'll just release you and tell you to chill. Okay. Uh, it's normal to have extremely high heart rate, extremely low heart rate. And if you're sitting there in your doctor's office and you have the extremely high heart rate, they're going to want to do all the cardiac tests on you. They'll put you on the walking machine and they'll hook you up to all their electrodes and wires and have you do some jogging, and they may want to do exploratory this or that, and like I said, I'm not an MD, so I won't pretend to practice any kind of medicine here, but all I will say is that you're in charge. You don't necessarily need to believe what anybody else is telling you. Anybody else, including me. You're in charge. You make the choices of what happens to your physical body. Don't let somebody else assume, because they've had the Kundalini for 59 years, or they've gone to this school or that school, that they have any authority over your system. You're the ultimate authority. Actually, I take that back. Your Kundalini is the ultimate authority about what happens to your system. So you'll have the elevated blood pressure, or you'll have the extremely low blood pressure. You'll have the elevated heart rate, or you'll have the extremely low heart rate. You'll have elevated different levels of respiration as well. Sometimes the Kundalini will take out your breath. Yeah, it's true. All of a sudden you'll notice that you haven't been breathing for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And you're not hurting for it. You're not jonesing to take that next breath. And I made that really loud on purpose. It's not how I breathe. You're not jonesing for the next breath. And you feel just fine. Think about that. Think about the power of grace and the power that it has over your life and the expression of life through that physical container that we call the physical body. Think about that. She can just take away your breath and keep you alive at the same time. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. So if you have any of these physical artifacts of Kundalini, I'm going to suggest you just let them be. Don't try to fix what you don't understand. Don't try to fix what humanity does not understand. Most people do not have Kundalini in the activated or awakened state. Certainly not MDs. And certainly not groups of MDs like the American Medical Association, who doesn't even recognize the existence of Kundalini. Doesn't even recognize the existence. And what? They're going to assume a position of authority over a person that's having Kundalini that they don't recognize? No. They're just... They put a blindfold over their face and they're feeling around in the dark, looking for egotistical-based authority to guide you into health. What they really need to do is to open their minds a little bit further and begin to understand that Kundalini is the ultimate force of life in this multiverse, and that it has control over what happens to us and why anything happens to us. And it will have the control over our vascular musculature, the heart, the walls of the arteries and the veins. It will have control at how fast the heart beats. It will have control over how much air we need to breathe at any given time. It will have control over that without the chemicals being inserted into the body. Okay, and Sherry Voorhees makes a good comment. She says, my take on health is that since you house the divine, you need to care for your body like it's a temple. Listen to her and what she wants for you. Yes, listen to her. Listen to the Kundalini. And let her do with you what she wants to do with you. Thanks for watching.